as you can see, I'm back to recording again. I'm back to making cooking videos, and I'm very happy about that. Today I want to share with you the easiest and most delicious way to cook pork, Microdac style, of course. It's my style, and I like it, and I think it's foolproof. I started out with a piece of pork, $4.54 worth. I thought it was a good price. It's, what is it, about 2 pounds of pork for $4.54. Now, these are the main ingredients for my sauce. I used tomato ketchup. I used sugar, except not sugar in the raw. I used brown sugar, dark brown sugar that comes in a bag. And of course I had apple cider vinegar. I will tell you all about this in just a minute. But my thing is, I love to use onions when I cook. So I had an onion, 3/4 of which I placed in the bottom of my cooking dish, which I'll get to in just a moment. The other thing is I used black pepper, soy sauce, and of course salt. I rubbed the pork really well with salt and black pepper. Keep in mind it's pork, and because it's pork, you're going to need to use a lot of salt on it, in my opinion, or not, depends upon you. In my case, I like to punch little holes in the pork, just like this, and the reason for that is because when I rub the salt and pepper into the pork, I want it to get into the skin. Does it work? It works for me. Now, the other part of it is, of course, placing onions at the bottom of the dish. This is just something that I do. Notice that I used 3/4 of the onion. The other quarter, which I just pushed aside, I'm going to use in my sauce, and I'll tell you about that later. Now, about my dish, I use a slow cooker. Why? Because it is easy. It is very easy. All you have to do is to put it in the slow cooker, put the lid on. Now back to the onions. See, I put a bed of onions at the bottom of the slow cooker, and then I added maybe about 2 tablespoonfuls of soy sauce, maybe 1. As for the pork, I told you about it before. I added salt and pepper to the pork, and I rubbed it in really well, all over the pork, especially the salt, all over the pork. And then when I was through rubbing in the salt and pepper, I placed it in my slow cooker on top of that bed of onions I showed you earlier, and there it sits. Here I added maybe about 1/4 cup of vinegar, maybe 1/8 of a cup of vinegar. That's all. Okay, now for the sauce. This is my secret ingredient, and this is so simple, and it's fun too, I'm telling you. I used 3/4 of an onion, Then I use one of those small little bell peppers that they sell in the supermarket. I like the flavor of pepper, but I don't like it to be too hot. And along with that, I added some garlic, maybe 3 cloves of garlic. Okay, now, after I added all of this, chopped it up really fine, as you can see. Well, not that fine, because I have a blender, a hand blender that I use. Then, my next evolution, this is part of my secrets. About half a cup of dark brown sugar. And to that dark brown sugar, I added about 1/2 cup of ketchup. Just like that. And this is really the basis for almost all barbecue sauce. Along with that, of course, is what I mentioned earlier. I mixed it up, mixed it real well. I mixed the dark brown sugar and the ketchup really well. And once I got done with that, I added my onion, garlic, and pepper into that mixture of sugar and ketchup. And then I added maybe about 3 tablespoonfuls of soy sauce to the mixture. Then I used my little hand grinder. See this hand grinder right here? I gotta tell you something about this. A lot of things that are in my kitchen, I bought them in the thrift store. The hand grinder is no different. My microwave oven, I paid $19 for in the thrift store, and that to me was a bargain. This little hand grinder, I paid $6 for this little hand grinder, and it worked perfectly well. I like a hand grinder because I can manipulate whatever it is I'm doing. As for this sauce, as you can tell, this sauce consisted of brown sugar, ketchup, onions, 3 cloves of garlic, and of course the pepper. I added some soy sauce to it because I thought the consistency was just a little bit too thick, and I wanted my sauce to be a little thinner. So I added liquid soy sauce, as if there's anything else really. But yes, I did add soy sauce. I like the flavor of soy sauce. If you don't care for soy sauce, I don't see anything wrong with adding, say, water. Why not? The idea is, as I said, I thought the sauce was a little too thick once I mixed the sugar together along with the ketchup. So, in adding soy sauce, it became the consistency that I wanted it to be. And so that's the reason for that. So, you like my little $6 blender? It's cute, isn't it? By the way, it is so easy to clean. You just run it under water, and then after you get done, you are very careful about the blade, and then you dry it off. Now, with the pork in the slow cooker, I added my sauce all over the pork, just like that. As you can see, it is well covered. The consistency is correct. I was right in adding the soy sauce. I then placed the lid on top of the pork. It's a slow cooker after all. And you can cook it one of two ways, really. You can either cook it on low, which I would recommend, especially if you don't have the time. And especially if you're going to cook it overnight, then cook it on low. If you do have the time, like if you wanted to start it around noon, let's say noon, then about 4 o'clock it'll be ready, 4:30. Put it on high, and of course cook it for about 4 hours. While it's cooking, grab your camera, go outside, and shoot some pictures. That's what I did. I hope you will share your comments. Thank you very much.